What's up everybody, Steven Z Killer here. It's time to bring you a new reaction video. But before that, 75% of you guys watching right now are not subscribed. This means two things. You're either brand new to the channel or returning. And I do hope that this video gets you to hit that subscribe button today. Last year, we didn't hit our goal of 400,000 subscribers by the end of 2024. We almost got there, and we were so close to 100,000 new subscribers in that year. But I still need more people to join and subscribe to get my channel to hit 1 million subscribers. This upcoming year, the new goal is 500,000 subscribers, and I need you to hit that subscribe button today so we can hit it this year. I know we can do it. What's up everybody, Steven Z Killer here bringing another reaction, and today we got some more Hasbin Hotel stuff to check out. Now that Hasbin Hotel Season 2 has finally ended, I think the season was pretty good. Let me know what you guys thought. What was your favorite episode? What was your favorite song? And also, do you think it was better or on the same level as Season 1, or was it worse? Explain. Let that be known in the comments. But we're going to check out some videos that people have been leaving comments for me to check out, and also I've been interested in checking out more on this type of stuff. So we have Cartoon Universe's newest video that just came out yesterday, Alastor and Rosie's new deal, Hasbin Hotel Season 2 finale theories. So I always love this type of stuff. And if you guys want to check out the video yourself, it dropped yesterday. Like the original video, subscribe to the channel, link is in the description down below. But that's not the only video we're checking out. We're actually going to combine this with another one where it's Alastor's deal with Rosie, everything we know so far. A nice little refresher. We can watch this, check out what details, knowledge on exactly, because we don't know every detail when it comes to Alastor and Rosie's deal in the first place. So we'll check out the possibility theories on the new deal and upcoming stuff. Now, to be fair, I feel like, and you guys could be against this idea, but I feel like Alastor is going to be the next big bad for Season 3. I don't doubt that. So it's going to be a very interesting Season 3 when it does come out in the next year to 2 years from now. And I'll be looking forward to it. And of course, if you want to see all my reactions to Season 2, available right now on the channel, of course. And even Season 1, go check out that if you guys want. And I have one of my cats in my room. So if you hear noise in the background, that's my cat doing things. All right, let's go!
This week, we got the season finale for Hasbin Hotel's second big arc, and with it, we got a lot of crazy developments with Alastor in particular, who managed to get out of 2 different deals and entered a brand new one with none other than Rosie, but with Alastor now being the one.
So my idea about the deal, though, that Alastor did, now, of course, there could be add-ons and stuff like that that we are not aware of with the new deal, but I think all it was is Alastor had Rosie basically heal him from the wound he had on his chest and fix the staff to help everyone during the finale against that bomb. So I think that's it. I don't think there's going to be anything connecting or restricting Alastor back to Rosie or letting Alastor be binded by Rosie again. He's done with it. So he did probably a fair, even, oh, you fix this for me and this, and I help stop that. I think that's all that the deal is.
And holding all of the cards. So let's talk about everything that happened and everything we know about how this sets up Alastor for Season 3 and maybe even Season 4 of the show, as I think he will be an important part of the series' endgame. Now, first and foremost,
if he's not Season 3's main villain that they have to worry about, he is definitely going to be Season 4. No doubt in my mind. Alastor, in my eyes, is just similar, but with a slightly different pathing of how he does things, but very similar to Vox. He wants to be the number one. He wants to be the one on top. But the pathing that they took is the same direction, but in alternate ways of doing it.
The two-part finale was extremely epic, even more so than the previous season's finale, which I thought would be really hard to follow up. But with episode 6 leaving off with Lucifer being kidnapped by Vox, we got a big two-part battle to try and rescue him and stop his power from being used to destroy the city. This led to several fights around Pentagram City while trying to stop Vox.
I will have to agree. I think I do like the end season finale for season 2 a little bit more than season 1. I'm have to rewatch season 1 too.
From declaring war on heaven with his great doomsday device, which ultimately backfired and turned to a ticking time bomb that was going to destroy Pentagram City. That was until we got to my favorite trope in anime, which is when everyone comes together to just shoot raw energy at the problem while epic music plays, leading to the big angelic bomb being stopped, the potential war ending, and everyone getting a chance to
and also Nifty being confirmed to be an overlord. Like, it's been speculations, it's been hinted at, but nothing confirming it, and that season finale confirmed it.
Lore getting redeemed and entering heaven now that they know Sir Pentious has made it in. It was a great conclusion to the season and a great end to the arc of Vox, but a lot of what went down in this big two-part finale was largely because of Alastor. And it set the stage for him to be a much more important part of season 3 and 4, maybe even the big villain. So let's talk about what that might look like and how Alastor got out of his soul deals. Now, one thing that I think has been talked about a lot since the show started airing on Amazon Prime is how Alastor is different than what a lot of fans were expecting. This isn't really a bad thing, at least not for a lot of fans, but the show definitely felt like it was set up wildly differently when it comes to his character. You see, early on, we didn't have any information about Alastor's soul deal, and most fans wanted to believe that he was actually at the hotel for the purposes of his own entertainment. He could have still had the intent of being sneaky and trying to exploit Charlie in order to get more power, but a lot of fans weren't expecting Alastor to be this deeply terrified and troubled man who's just hiding behind the facade of power, while anxiously jumping around behind the scenes trying to get even more in order to give himself the illusion of safety. With that in mind, the picture a lot of fans had was of Alastor being someone who just wanted to hang out at the hotel for his own entertainment, but who ultimately would fall in love with the characters and end up being their helper. And this current characterization sets him
Okay, that last half, I don't agree with. I did not see that as Alastor.
up to possibly be a bigger villain in seasons 3 and 4. Now, in season 1, it was revealed that Alastor was owned by another demon in hell, someone he made a soul deal with, but we didn't know who. A lot of us assumed that he had only made this deal 7 years ago, using it to get power after his battle with Vox, instead of the truth, which was that he had this power since the moment he entered hell because of a soul deal he made while alive. In season 2, we finally got a flashback showing not just Alastor's life on Earth, but how he actually made this deal with Rosie through a radio. This was after Alastor had been a murderer for quite some time, it seems, with Rosie indicating that he died very shortly after making this deal. With all the murders behind him, Alastor wanted to find a way to get to hell and make sure that he was one of the most powerful people there, allowing him to continue his game of torturing people he didn't like, instead of becoming one of the many tortured victims in the sinner masses of hell. Rosie is the leader of the cannibal colony, and it seems that Alastor was cannibalizing his victims, leading to him getting the power to use this ritual to contact Rosie directly. And after seeing how powerful Alastor's soul already was, Rosie decided to make the deal with him that he would be the most powerful sinner in hell. The problem with that is Rosie didn't seem 100% sure that she could maintain this indefinitely. Rosie is very powerful, and she could give all of her power to another sinner to make them even more powerful than her with the power that they already have. But she notes that Alastor in particular already seems like a very promising and powerful soul, and she may not have been giving him that much power to begin with in order to elevate him to the top of the sinners. The problem with Alastor's deal is even if it makes him the most powerful
There's even this ongoing theory still about Rosie not truly being an overlord. There's a theory that people have been talking about that Rosie might be a duplicate of Lilith. That's been an ongoing theory.
Sinner in the Pride Ring, that doesn't mean he's that much more powerful than anyone else. Vox had more naturally accumulated a lot of soul deals through his control over the TV waves, and though Alastor's soul deal with Rosie would technically make him more powerful than Vox, he could still take on Alastor with the help of his sidekicks Velvet and Valentino, who themselves are also really powerful with their individual soul deals. And with that in mind, Alastor realized that it wouldn't be that hard to get out of his soul deal with Rosie, as their entire soul deal was contingent on Rosie being able to maintain Alastor's power level as the most powerful sinner. Now, Rosie herself is very powerful, but as we saw in the recent finale, Charlie and her family are much more powerful. And with an endorsement from Charlie, as well as the support of the masses because of that endorsement, Vox is able to legally become the most powerful sinner in the Pride Ring once Charlie claims that it is so. This makes sense, as in Vivziepop's hierarchy for Hell, Lucifer, Lilith, and Charlie are the three most powerful figures, with Lilith being said early on to really only have the power she has because Lucifer gives it to her. With that in mind, it makes sense that if Charlie in particular were to endorse an already very powerful sinner, it would elevate them beyond the power that Rosie herself is able to give Alastor, even with all the power that she does have. The only problem was that in any normal circumstance, Charlie would not be endorsing Vox for obvious reasons. And this is where Alastor began to exploit the logic of deals in hell. Alastor was already in a soul deal with Rosie, but he was able to make a smaller deal to be the prisoner of Vox, giving him control over all of the radio waves. But this was just part of Alastor's bigger plan in order to break his deal with Rosie and also get out of Vox's deal at the same time. You see, with Charlie, Alastor had already made the deal that she would owe him one small favor in return for him bringing her to Rosie in order to get help with the fight against the Exorcist. We've been waiting all season to see what this little favor would actually turn out to be, and while being the prisoner of Vox, Alastor has Charlie repay this favor by forcing her to endorse Vox as the most—
I'm not gonna lie, but, and you guys pointed this out too, Charlie did say in season 1 she can't hurt anybody, but I really thought when this was coming up, I was thinking that Alastor was gonna get like manipulate the things where Charlie would probably actually go out of her way to fight the V's, and Vox wouldn't be able to do anything to Charlie physically.
Powerful sinner. Doing this made Rosie's soul deal with Alastor null and void, and he was set free from the deal while still maintaining the original power and the additional power that he accumulated in Hell, just without the power that Rosie specifically was giving him. Here, he's still so confident in his power that even after forcing Charlie to make Vox the most powerful sinner, he has no problem going into a heated battle with him. And of course, this was only able to happen because Alastor was set free from Vox's deal when Vox broke the rules of their arrangement. When Alastor set up this deal with Vox, he did so under the pretense that he wanted to protect Nifty, Husk, and of course, Charlie. He had this happen after a fun and action-filled battle, not just between Alastor and Vox, but also the three Vs and Alastor's lackeys. By doing this, Alastor was able to set up the context that what he wanted was everyone's safety. But when he made a deal with Vox, what he specifically asked for was for Vox not to place a hand on Charlie. Now, of course, Vox took this as not hurting Charlie, but he literally put his hands on her in a way that most people would consider more casual touching, but which a lot of people still, and especially people like Alastor, would consider to be
such a great way to trick him too. And honestly, thinking back to it, he does do that a lot in season 2.
An uncomfortable touch, and something that Alastor knew Vox couldn't resist doing, especially when he got his way. This was something set up in the earlier episodes when Alastor first becomes Vox's prisoner, and we can see Vox putting his hands on Alastor's shoulder in the same way that he ends up doing this with Charlie in the finale. And here you can even see Alastor giving him a look like he knew he was going to do this because that's what Vox does. With that in mind, through lawyeristic wording, once Vox just simply touched Charlie, the deal was broken and Alastor was set free and able to fight against him. Of course, the real battle ended up not being with Vox, but against the giant machine that he had Carmilla make that just ended up backfiring and becoming something like an angelic nuclear bomb that was going to blow up Pentagram City. Now, early fans of the show would probably have expected Alastor to simply come to the defense of Charlie and the others, using his power to help save everyone and maintain his control within the Hasbin Hotel. But even with Rosie forcing Alastor to be at the hotel all season, we saw him trying to avoid his duties and not really be involved as much as possible. At this point, it's become very clear
that is true during season 2. He really wasn't like keen on doing much. There was a lot of moments I expected Alastor to come out and do shit, but he didn't.
That all Alastor really cares about is his power. And if the story is planning on one day having Alastor realize he loves these characters and wants to defend them, it's not going to be for some time. So instead, when the entire city is at risk of being blown to smithereens,
I think Alastor's just going to be one of the big threats of season 3 or season 4. Realistically, I think season 3 would make sense, and then there could be a redemption kind of thing for season 4 for Alastor, and that could cause him to go to heaven, which would be funny. But yeah,
Alastor doesn't come to the defense of everyone else, but
do I really think Alastor would ever get to the point of being able to be redeemed? Probably not.
Instead, just uses it as a way to get Rosie in his control. This little musical scene before Alastor and Rosie join the others is one of my favorite in the entire series now, where Rosie even tries to use sentimentality against Alastor, acting like he should care that the others are going to die if he doesn't do anything. But instead, Alastor ends up using this against Rosie instead, insisting he won't use the power he has unless she makes another deal with him. This wouldn't be the same deal as before, of course, and instead of Alastor returning to be under the control of Rosie, I have to imagine that Rosie is now to some degree under the control of Alastor. This doesn't mean that Rosie has to do the bidding of Alastor, but if Alastor wanted the power that Rosie provided back, this would be the perfect opportunity to get it. As she didn't just need someone to use her power against the bomb, but she needed some of Alastor's power in order to stop it entirely. Though the only thing we know for sure that Rosie actually did as part of this deal was finally fix Alastor's microphone, something he had been asking her to.
And probably the chest wound too. I would assume both the wound on his chest and the staff were fixed, guaranteed, during this whole segment.
Do all season. This means that Rosie already knew that her power alone wouldn't be enough, even with all the power being contributed by Charlie, Emily, and the others. And unfortunately, it looks like she had to take the deal and give Alastor all the power he needs to set him up as the big villain in seasons 3 and 4. Now, in my opinion, seasons 3 and 4 will likely have a new seasonal antagonist that pops up, but along the way, I think we'll see Alastor becoming more and more of an overt villain behind the scenes. Alastor's goal is power, and he feels terrified without it, and now that he knows he can't defeat an archangel like Adam, the only way to get more power would be from an angel even higher. And of course, that would bring us back to Charlie. Alastor has no intention of manipulating Lucifer into a friendly dynamic when he gets his power, and instead, he sees Lucifer as someone he needs to get rid of through the process of making Charlie his own and taking her power. We had already seen Alastor trying to play on Charlie's daddy issues all the way back in season 1, when Lucifer finally came to the hotel and Alastor realized the hole in Charlie's heart from her rocky relationship with her parents. Since then, Lucifer has become Alastor's big rival at the hotel, and with Vox out of the picture, it means that Alastor's entire focus can be on his rivalry with Lucifer. Of course, without a soul deal from Rosie, he's not required to stay there anymore, but instead of manipulating Charlie for Rosie's goals, he can focus on trying to manipulate Charlie as much as possible in order to get the power for himself. We saw that season 2 also ended with Charlie finally getting a phone call from Lilith, and at some point she has to come down to the hotel and finally start interacting with her as well as Lucifer. And I think it's around this time that Alastor's plans will really come into focus, as he'll have an opportunity to manipulate the entire family against each other to try and advance his own goal of attaining power. But what do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and if you want more Hasbin Hotel goodness, make sure you subscribe as we'll be putting videos out.
Definitely do that. Let's check out the next video. This one will go into any details we may not have noticed during the prior seasons, or maybe there's some hints or something that I'm not aware of. So let's check out this and make sure we know every detail we can. And this came out before, just a reminder, this came out before the season finale, so...
This week's 2 new episodes of Hasbin Hotel were great, with the first episode having Vox coming to the hotel from Charlie's invitation to try and spread the news that Serpentius got into heaven. But with the second episode, we got something fans have been waiting for since the series first premiered, the origins of Alastor, as well as the identity of the person
that was such a hype moment.
So today, we're going to talk about that and where it sets Alastor up for the rest of the series. My name is Deep Cut, welcome back to Cartoon Universe, and let's break down one of my favorite episodes of the entire show. Now, Alastor is a fan favorite character from before the pilot even aired, with a lot of fans dying to know what his life was like on Earth.
And there's also, I'm going to pause here. There's a lot of people speculating. This guy right here, hold up, let me go back up a little bit, back. A lot of people are speculating that there's a possibility, since Mimsy's here with Alastor, a lot of people are wondering if this is Husk. Just because of the alcohol. I don't really see anything gambling-wise, but that the theory of this could be Husk would be interesting if Husk was alive during the same time frame. Or maybe later down the line, Husk got into a gambling addiction. I don't know. But either way, that's been an ongoing theory I've been seeing people talk about.
What his life was like on Earth, how he ended up in Hell, and how he became so powerful. Even with the origin of Alastor playing out on screen in episode 4, we already knew most of these details from early live streams, with the only big reveal being how Alastor met Rosie himself. And more interestingly, how she made a deal with Alastor so she would own his soul. Now, from those early live streams, we already knew that Alastor lived and died in New Orleans, where he was raised by a single black mother, and had an absent white father. Growing up, he was said to have a tough childhood because of his mixed lineage, but still managed to break into radio, where voice was more important than how you looked. Now, the show didn't really dive into it, but there's an implication in the episode that Alastor had to work really hard to impress people in a more racist time. And in part, this is where some of his hatred towards others seems to have come from. Early on, Vivziepop explained that Alastor didn't turn his violence on women or people he felt were innocent. He tends to see men as active players in the game of life, or later hell, with women generally being seen as good company. This doesn't mean Alastor can't respect women, and as we see, he's the pet to Rosie and treats Rosie more like someone who chose to enter this sort of game herself, instead of one of the more natural players like the other men are. In the prequel comic that came out before the show, we saw Alastor kill and eat other demons who dare to harm smaller or more innocent demons because of how unfair he saw it.
I think I remember reacting to somebody doing a dub of that.
Seeing the suffering that he and his own mother went through on Earth at the hands of others with more power. This all gives us a very complex portrait of a man who died in the year 1933, who grew up in a racially charged time, but also had a strong affection towards the strong women in his life, like his mother, who taught him to be the man that he is, while resenting the other men around him who he saw as oppressive to women like his mother and even men like himself. Because of this, in life, Alastor developed a taste not just for killing people, but apparently eating them. While he worked his way up to become a famous radio broadcast voice with his transatlantic accent, he was also targeting people he saw as heinous or even who just pissed him off personally. This reflects the version of him we see in Hell, where he is more concerned about the act he puts on than who he truly is. He is supposed to be perfectly composed, but after the pilot, it feels like the show is more about how not composed he really is, and how much he hides all that behind a facade of casual carelessness while aiming.
Also, people pointed out that the shadow form that we always see Alastor have, like in his background and stuff like that, there's times where the shadow's in pain, or the shadow's showing distress or worriment or some type of emotion, and that's what Alastor's actually feeling behind his smile.
To get his revenge on people. In one shot, for instance, we see a man spill some wine on Alastor, and Alastor can't help but kill him because of it. Because of his suit and the location, it's implied to be a man who is powerful in the industries, maybe even radio, and thus someone who also stood in the way of Alastor symbolically. But it all comes down to these personal moments when he decides to kill him. The spilling of wine on Alastor is treated not much differently than the way Alastor treated Serpentius, simply for getting a piece of his coat ripped off, which set Alastor off with real anger, it seems, and made him go straight to destructive mode while trying to look calm. Finally, after years of killing people, Alastor also found a way to connect with Hell through dark rituals. This is something that didn't just require the murder of people as we see in this scene, but probably the eating of their flesh, as Alastor ended up getting in contact with Rosie, who of course is the leader of the cannibals. It's implied that eating human flesh may have had an effect on Alastor over time, which is also the claim of the fabled creature, the Wendigo. This is a figure from American folk tales that was
I never even thought about that. That is 100% true. The Wendigo, the whole idea of the Wendigo. Well, I guess this is more knowledge from like the video game called Until Dawn. But the whole thing is it's a madness and a disease that transforms and mutates a person who had gone cannibal.
Claimed to have once been human, but turned into this great monster after resorting to cannibalism. The Wendigo can be depicted in many different ways, but a lot of art on the internet for modern depictions of the Wendigo show them as having antlers. It's because of this that when Alastor is later disposing of a body and ends up getting shot, his silhouette takes the form of a Wendigo with these tree branches made to look like antlers, with Rosie explaining that the person who shot him mistook him for a deer. And Alastor's full demon mode that we see in the comics and even in the show also includes these antlers to make him look more like the Wendigo. All of this indicates, to me at least, that it's
not to mention he does have that Wendigo screech effect whenever he transforms.
Not just one-time eating flesh that would make this sort of ritual work, but that Alastor had been slowly changing himself with each kill and cannibalization until that connection became more naturally possible. And this makes sense. Right now we know demons generally enter hell with a standard power level and slowly rise through the ranks with soul deals, but certain figures are shown to enter hell with a bit more power. Rosie very specifically says when Alastor first contacts her that she hasn't quite seen a soul like this in all of her time. And it would make sense that killing someone and perhaps consuming their flesh somehow gave you some of the power that their soul would have in hell. Now, when Alastor contacted Hell, it was because he knew he would be sent there for the murders he committed, and he wanted to try and find a way to guarantee that he can keep being a creep instead of one of the many victims that the religions describe going there. What's important here is that Alastor already had some potential power. Rosie may be the most powerful figure in some hierarchy in hell for a reason that hasn't been explained yet, even just by the merit of having the most soul deals going on. But she says she was only able to raise Alastor to be the strongest sinner. And it seems that this was only in part because Alastor was already so powerful, and that she couldn't elevate just any other sinner to this level without that base. And this is how Alastor became the puppet to Rosie, who very mysteriously wants Alastor at the Hasbin Hotel suddenly. Before that, Alastor had apparently sang the praises to Rosie's causes over the radio for her, but elsewise had been free to run around hell acting like the most powerful overlord without ever having to make soul deals the way everyone else did. That didn't stop him from making some soul deals, of course, getting Husk and Nifty under his control, but it wasn't for more power, just for more control over certain people, it would seem. Now, the reveal that Rosie is the one Alastor made a soul deal with actually makes a lot of sense looking back, and with Rosie being the one trying to manipulate the Hasbin Hotel, it suddenly makes a lot of sense why the other cannibals would so casually join Charlie's cause, even beyond the promise of angel meat. Rosie even seems to be responsible for Alastor's death on Earth, as when she talks about making the soul deal with Alastor, she explains that he died the very next day, being mistaken as a deer while trying to hide a body.
Ooh, I never even thought about that. What if that didn't manipulate him to getting killed faster?
It seems after making the deal, Rosie wanted to cash in on this, so had it arranged for Alastor to die so that he can begin working for her as soon as possible. The problem now, at least for Alastor, is that Rosie had made Alastor go off the air for 7 years after his last fight with Vox, and only had him resurface now to work at the Hasbin Hotel, which led to him nearly dying in a battle against Adam. Alastor saw this as Rosie not fulfilling her part of the deal, but as Rosie said, being the most powerful sinner in hell doesn't make you strong enough to defeat an archangel, even though Nifty was able to do it with a simple angelic weapon when he wasn't looking. And unfortunately, the battle with the archangel left him pretty wounded. Because of this, Alastor can't just leave his soul deal with Rosie and maintain his existing power, but even within that deal, he's still in a weakened state because of the injury that Adam gave him. So as per usual, when it comes to taking care of the problem of Vox, Alastor's only option seems to be to try and trick people. To make it look real, Alastor initiated a big battle against Vox, who ended up bringing in the other Vs, Valentino and Velvet, which inevitably led to Husk and Nifty coming to Alastor's aid. This is one of my favorite battles in the entire series so far,
it's really
fun to see Alastor and his team of 3 go against Vox and his team of 3. But of course, this was all a ploy, so once Nifty and Husk are in danger, Alastor offers Vox to make a deal and basically become his faithful servant, giving Vox control over the radio as well as control over the other mediums that he already has. This was all done with the condition to not hurt Husk, Nifty, and most importantly, Charlie. And with the entire season's conflict being a build-up to
not put your hands on Charlie. Not hurt. Not put your hands.
A battle between Charlie and Vox, even if just political and not physical. I have to imagine that this is going to go horribly wrong for Vox in the big finale. But what do you guys think? Will Alastor really be able to accomplish his goal, or do you think Vox is going to end up being victorious? Just kidding, I know that's probably not going to happen. But if you think so, let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to...
Well, we know how things end. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this reaction. This had some good information, nice little recap, but nothing too crazy. We majority knew all this stuff, but this one was pretty good. The theory and all that stuff for the deal possibility. But anyways, if you guys have other suggestions, Hasbin Hotel related, music, animation, all that kind of stuff, let me know about it down below in the comments. Look out for more reactions in the future. Check out my reactions too, of course, Season 2 itself, and maybe even go far back and find Season 1 reactions. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, thank you guys for watching. Until then, later!
There's a name that shines bright, bringing joy to the night. Steven's killer, he's the king of the screen. With his epic playthroughs, he raises a knee. Laughing out loud as we watch him explore. From horror to laughter, we can't help but want more. With a heart full of passion, he shares his delight. Steven's killer, take us on another one.